Guys, Rashee Rice is on the block. It is a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75 for the tight end start 10. Scott, are you going Rashee Rice in the 25 seconds or Jahmyr Gibbs? Go ahead, man.
So Rashee Rice was one of the stories of week one. It looks like, and let's just get this out of the way early. I think the off the field / suspension stuff is in the rear view. It could surface again. It will surface again because it's not just going to go away. And certainly it's not something that you want your fantasy players to have, but I don't think it impacts his value at all in terms of when I'm talking trades about him, it doesn't even come up. So I'm just assuming for what we know right now, it doesn't even enter the conversation when you're talking his value or do you want him going forward, etc. How he was used, what he did in week one, I think it's pretty clear that his role is probably to be the primary target on the Chiefs, which we've wanted that for years. I think Xavier Worthy's good, but he's also probably more limited in terms of I don't even want to say ceiling, because you saw a ceiling game from Xavier Worthy where he already had 20 points in his first game. But I just think from what you're hoping for in that offense, combined with Mahomes' efficiency, with their neutral pass rate, and I think maybe the decline of Kelsey a little bit, maybe not from he's worse than he was last year, but in terms of how they're going to use him, I think you see a lot more of what Rice is going to get to him versus in Kelsey during the regular season. Maybe in the playoffs, it changes a little bit if they need to make a play. With all of that said, we talk about hammers. I think if this is all you have to pay to get potentially a hammer and a guy that can put up even more crooked numbers, I think, than Rashee Rice. Gibbs is going to have his crooked number games, just with how explosive he is, how they used him. I think this is a fair price to pay. If you told me I just hate running backs and I don't want to ever pay for a running back, then no. But if this is what you have to pay to get Gibbs, it's reasonable, because there are a couple things where you could point to with Rice and say, okay, if I can sell him and I'm getting a hammer starter and all I have to pay is a second, I'm okay doing this deal. I'm fine taking the Gibbs side, especially if I have one of those running back rooms that is trying to patchwork it together. This could be the time to make the move. I think I can replace Rice's production with a veteran if I'm willing to pay enough of stuff. So I think I'll take the Gibbs side here.
Shane, it's a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75 for the tight end start 10. Are you going Rashee Rice in the 25 seconds or Gibbs, sir?
No PPC. I'm assuming, because I don't see anything about PPC. If it was PPC, I would just be like, I'm taking Gibbs. But not to be too reactive, but just looking at utilization, Rashee Rice was second in targets per route run last week and tied for fifth in target share. That's a pretty big deal compared to what happened or how the season went last year. If anyone followed along with him, it was a struggle bus to get to those types of levels, besides even just getting routes and snaps. I think you do have to go with Rashee Rice here, though. You're getting the second, so I'd go Rashee Rice, and then what running back could I get for a second? And if I really wanted to spit in the face of the Jahmyr Gibbs owner, I'd go and take that 25 second and go try to get the David Montgomery from whoever has him and just absolutely make my bet and lie in it. You know what I mean? And I said bet, not bet, I know. I should have said bet and lie in it. But no, I'll go Rice in the second. But if you wanted to go Gibbs as your hammer back, I have absolutely no issue.
Let me ask you this. So oftentimes I'll ask, does Rice have the juice to get up to one of the big boys? You know, one of the top three, we'll say. Let me ask you this way, though. Are you pressed to tier up from Rashee Rice right now? Is that something that you're looking to do to capitalize on this value? Or do you think he could be a stud himself, so you're not sweating that right now?
I think if you want to tier up from Rice, you can. But I think the problem is you kind of look at what he did in week one. If it continues in week two and it continues into week three, and you have a guy putting up a 30% target share on the Chiefs, I think we will move fast enough to where there aren't a lot of tier up deals from Rashee Rice. Like, they're the very, very top. But I think the problem is, are you going to be able to overcome maybe some bias from the person that is holding on to CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson to overcome the fact that all you really should be having to add is a couple seconds or a really late first to get one of those guys? And I just don't see that manager adjusting quick enough, at least as fast as the market's going to adjust on Rice. He has 2 more games like he did in week one. Like, you're going to look at a guy that people are putting inside the top 8, top 7.
It'll be him and Garrett Wilson conversation, right?
Higher. It's not crazy that if it continues with Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, that people are wanting him over them, because Dynasty is more reactive. And what am I getting getting in 2024 versus 2025 and 2026 and beyond. So I'm not predicting that, but I do think there's a couple more opportunities where Rice gets you to an elite asset. And part of it is he's on the Chiefs. Nobody questions the situation.
Right.
What they waited for was somebody to insert themselves in the situation and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it consistently. If that happens, I think the rise will be meteoric and there will be some crazy Rice trades. So that's why I'm interested in having some for that moment, which would make me go, do I really want to trade him for a running back? To Shane's point, like you're probably trading away the flexibility. As soon as you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you're not going from Jahmyr Gibbs to Jamar Chase. You have to build your roster around having Jahmyr Gibbs versus the flexibility of the receiver and the second that you use to tack on to get it done.
Shane, so in our 1.75 for the tight ends format, are you paying Sam Laporta for Rashee Rice?
No, I'm not going to do that. Now, Sam Laporta had a quiet game by Sam Laporta standards, right? Very quiet target share, 19%. And part of that could have been that JMO was an absolute monster. I don't know what bizarre world I'm living in. Anyway, JMO was an absolute monster because for whatever reason, the Rams decided that they weren't going to cover him correctly for whatever reason. I don't know. So it was the Jameson Williams show. So I'm not that concerned about Laporta. Laporta had a monster rookie season as a tight end. We expect him to take a step forward. If he does take a step forward, then we're talking about someone maybe not at Travis Kelce's level, because that's absurd, but maybe like a tier below that, which should be what's less than absurd, just a little nuts. So a little nuts production for the foreseeable future.